In 1960, Nigeria gained independence from the colonial masters. And in the years after independence, Nigeria was regarded as the land of milk and honey. Sadly, today, millions of Nigerians search for greener pastures. What happened to our milk and our honey? Today, we are plagued by corruption, economic recession, overdependence on oil, unemployment, insurgency, militancy, headsmen and farmers clashing, and the list just goes on and on and on. That is the reality of our nation and of our lives today. Tomorrow is Independence Day. Do we have anything to celebrate? What have we done as a nation since we gained our independence 57 years ago? These are things we're going to be looking at this morning, and to help us, we have in the studio in Lagos a legal practitioner, Mr. Chima Naji. Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome, viewers.
Dr. Doyin Okupe will be joining us later in the segment, but we have the Director General of the Voice of Nigeria, Mr. Osita Okechukwu, who will be joining us from our studio in Abuja. Good morning, Mr. Okechukwu.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you for joining us. If I may, I'd like to start with you. How would you rate Nigeria today, 57 years after independence? How have we fared?
I will start by saying that in 1960, I was in kindergarten primary school, and I was one of those that held the flag of our sovereignty and independence. And despite the challenges and the fault lines, I will give Nigeria a pass mark because we've achieved a lot on human capital development. We have achieved a lot internationally. We have achieved a lot in areas nobody could fathom, in spite of the hunger, the poverty, and the gross unemployment in the land. And I will say that today, we have realized that we cannot depend only on oil. We have had a reduction in the past 2 years on importation of one of the staple foods in Nigeria, rice. And the next few years ahead, we might not be importing rice anymore. And there are also certain industrial output going on across the country. If you go back to the southeast, you could see those who have been innovative. You go to Kano, you will see like the Gema oil mills that has a turnover of over 5 billion naira, processing soya beans, having thousands of farmers, off-takers. You cannot talk of the Dangote group as well. You cannot talk of the Capital Group or Lam Group. There are a lot going on in the country. But the fact actually is because of the hardship, people do not realize or see the horizon. For me, I see Nigeria realizing its potentials. I see our people being happier than they are today because there's a foundation being laid by President Muhammadu Buhari. He has a 30 billion loan request at the National Assembly. By the time we pull up that loan, and I'm one of those who are saying that Nigeria should even access more foreign direct investment and more concessions, more loans, because the infrastructure we have on the ground, yes, dilapidated, but there is a window that those infrastructure will be soon revamped. And immediately that is done, we're where we're going.
Joined by Dr. Doyin Okupe, who is a leader of Accord Party.
In the Southwest, correct.
In the Southwest. Thank you very good morning, and thank you for joining us. Mr. Naji, what happened to the milk and honey?
He told us that things are happening. He mentioned so many companies that appear to be doing well. But incidentally, he said, because of the hardship in the land, those things are not being seen. They appear a bit contradictory, but that is the reality of Nigeria. I said the milk is flowing, the honey is flowing, and yet many people are complaining that they're not seeing the honey, they're not seeing the milk. So the DG himself, from his coign of vantage, being a member of this government and the party
in our caucus,
appear to be seeing the flow and the dynamics of the milk and the honey. And that's why majority of the people, the masses who should bear testimony to the flow, in fact, even the velocity of the flow, they are not even seeing it. So the question of whether the Olam or Dangote or whatever, these things, they are doing businesses. And there is a limit to which they can divert the milk to flow in an egalitarian manner. And that is the crux of the matter.
Dr. Okupe, let's look at this. Let's look at some of the issues plaguing Nigeria. Particularly, there's this call, the call for restructuring and then devolution of powers. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I think my take is quite open, and I think it's very, very well known. Number one, I come from a geopolitical zone that is majorly backing restructuring. Personally, as a person, as a politician, as a leader myself, I believe in restructuring. And that was why the cream of the Yoruba people gathered together in Ibadan a couple of weeks ago and made that declaration on restructuring, the need to restructure the federation and the need to, return to the promises as we had just immediately after independence. It's really a pity, that we will have a gathering of that nature where the Oni of Ife, Afe Babalola, Chief Adebanjo, some of our very, very best, Olufalaye and co, we sit and we'll take a decision. And people will hold that decision in their reason. It's absurd. We are a noticeable, substantial quantum in the Nigerian project. And it doesn't matter to me, really speaking, if, all the 17 states in the north say that they are against restructuring. It is legitimate. We see restructuring as something beneficial, principally to us, which is okay. With politics, is about self-interest. We believe the Southwest will do well and do better and fulfill, the government that will restore will fulfill its obligations to its people under that kind of arrangement better than what we're doing right now. Just like, but, when people say it as if there's a finality that we do not accept restructuring, and that is it, it doesn't make sense. And it really doesn't work. And that's not how to run a federation. In a federation, we will continually agree and disagree. It doesn't even matter whether we are 2 states, whether you are 3 states, whether you are 5 states. But, we are a nationality, within the context of the Nigerian people. And, it's not just even the Southwest now. The Southwest says, we want and we support restructuring. Majority of people in the Southeast support restructuring. The South-South support restructuring.
Majority of the people in the North, at least just about 3 or 4 states that said they don't want restructuring.
Well, the issue now is that we must now disagree to a roadmap by which we can achieve it.
Okay, but the question now is restructuring the answer to the many issues facing the country?
Let me tell you.
He's talked about milk and honey flowing direction. Now nobody knows the direction.
Naji is a philosopher.
Mr. Kichuku talks. Mr. Kichuku.
I don't agree with his milk and honey, but we'll come back to that.
You don't think there's milk and honey in this country anymore?
It is an erroneous statement. It is is a presumption that was planted in our minds at independence, maybe rightly, because at independence, what were we? 45 million people with the same potential that we have today. So you can easily project that if we have only 45 million people, and with this amount of potential, resources and all that, oh, this is a great nation. But what have we done since then? We are now 180 million people with the same resources. All right, hold on, Alero. Alero, we have a budget of $20 billion a year. McDonald's that sells burger has a budget of over $150 billion a year. A company that sells burger. Brazil, from one product, sugarcane, making sugar, sold $80 billion worth of sugar and molasses, etc., in 2016. So, Brazil is just 200 and something million population, maybe 220 to 250, that kind of. Do you understand my point? So there's no milk and honey in the country
anymore.
No, there was never, because we have not controlled our population, and we have grown exponentially, so that things are not, as long as we continue to have this mindset, that we are, a rich country, we are very, we will not find it easy to organize ourselves. But rich country, we have 70 or 80% of the states unable to pay salaries.